Hello, everyone. Thanks for those of you that have just purchased my EA. I'm only selling a limited copies of these for the next 3 to 6 months or so, so won't be selling too many. But for those of you that have purchased, this video is going to be about the settings of the EA and how to correctly set them to my settings, so you are not over risking your account, that you're trading the EA or robot safely. So we're going to talk about the settings now and and the different risk levels. So this is my broker, Oanda. You can see. Let me get my marker out so I can point out some things. You can see the leverage here is 50 to 1. So 50 to 1 leverage. You can see the account balance. I started with 2,000 on this test. Now I'm going to stop that test for now and just show you that the drawdown is really low in this test at 16% so far. It hasn't been very far through. Um, but here are the settings of the EA. I'm going to pull this screen down so you can see some of them. Now, how the EA is set in the standard format is a little bit different than what I'm going to have you set it at. Um, so what I want you to do is look at the settings in the EA once you receive it. It should be called the RMI EA Inside Candle version 2. Now you don't change anything in this bracket. Everything is correct. Buy and sell level 30 and 70. You can mess with these settings if you want, but this is what I'm using, and I suggest that you stick with. All right, so stop loss, you're going to place that as 0. You're going to place the take profit level as 0 as well. The grid size, you're going to set that as true, and you're going to make that 20 pips. Okay, you're going to leave these other options as false. The next ones that you change, um, keep scrolling down, close at pips profit. You're going to change that to 50. And I'll go ahead and explain what these settings mean in just a bit. Okay, so close profit in dollars, you're going to leave that as false, false. This is nice. This could be as a cutoff just in case you want the EA to close out all trades at a certain percent cutoff. So if you have a drawdown of 50% or 30%, and that's where you want to cut all trades for a loss, you can have the EA do that automatically. The martingale settings, I'll talk about those in a second. And then now we need to change the risk management, so how many lots are traded. So if you have $1,000, we're going to trade at 0.01 lots. And if you want that to increase by 0.01 every $1,000 as well, so that's what this balance step is. So change it to 0.01 and 0.01 and leaving the martingale options as false. So in the test, we have it at 2,000, but a minimum I recommend is 1,000. You can do 500. It's a little bit more risk involved on the 50 to 1 leverage account. 500 with account size of 500, I recommend a leverage of 100 to 1 or more. All right, so $1,000 and as the minimum, and in my test that you saw, let's see if I can pull it up again. In this test, this was a done with 50 to 1 leverage on a $1,000 account, and the 69%, as I showed before, right here. That hump, that was the 69% drawdown that happened about 2008 at some point. Okay, so if you use the account size of say 2,000, all right, so that means that that should cut the risk in half, technically. But in order to do that, we needed to change one thing. So we keep all the settings the same, except for one. We change the balance step. So we change that to 2,000 as well, because we want once we get a profit of $2,000, we want the EA to increase the risk size by 1. So instead of risking 0.01 for each 1,000, it's going to be risking 0.01 for every 2,000. So starting out at $2,000 will be, so if I'm using the chart here, 2,000 we're going to be using 0.01. And then 4,000, once the count reaches 4,000, then we're going to be using 0.02. Does that make sense? All right. And that's how we're going to work the EA settings. So if you want to risk even less, making a little less profit, you can push it up to 3,000 and then make sure and change the balance step to 3,000 as well. Okay, for this setting, since we're going to be using it with a standard of $1,000 account, we're going to make sure and make change the EA settings to reflect that. Okay, so let's go into the actual EA itself instead of just into the back test, just to make sure that you know how to set this up. So um, we're going to show you. Hold on a second, guys. Okay, so here is the EA itself, and you're going to need the indicator as well. And the EA actually uses one indicator, and that is the RMI indicator. So I'm going to paste that here as well. Okay, so as you can see, I have an MSI laptop, and we're going to place those, the EA itself, into the broker, so ANDA or MT, MetaTrader 4's, the correct folders, so we can actually use the EA itself. Okay, so what you do is you go to the top right, you select File, you open up Data folder, and the Data folder will pull up this menu, and you go into MQ4, NQL4, and it will show you all these settings in here. So you click on Experts, okay? And once you click on the experts, you'll see some files in there. So you want to place or copy and paste. So you can also just drag and drop, and you just do. Well, let's make it bigger, and you just do paste, and it will say, do you want to replace? This won't pop up since I already have the file in here. Um, I don't need it to be placed in here again, basically. Um, So that's what you do. You place the folder in the EA, the experts folder, the file in the experts folder. So then you next click on the indicators. Indicators, you do the same thing, copy, and then paste into this folder. And that's all you pretty much need for the EA in order for it to work. So now it's placed in their folder. And so now you just go back to your broker, you close it down and reopen it. And you have to close it and reopen it in order for the, I guess, the software to realize that the files are in there. And so then you scroll down, you click on the Experts tab, you scroll down, and you should see it. So I have a lot of RMI and EAs in here since I've made a lot of different versions. And then you find the right one, and it should be only one in your case. And then you just drag and drop it onto the folder, onto the chart, on the euro pound uh, uh, 1 hour. Okay, and then you have to change all the settings. So as I showed you before, all the settings automatically get set pretty much as wrong. So again, we're going to change those for you now. And so we keep these top ones as they are. Press 0 on stop loss, 0 on take profit, and we change the grid size as true, 20. And so let's talk about these as we go. So the coder that I had to create this for me just automatically set some of these settings, and not quite right. I didn't want to stop loss and I take profit. That means that they take profit of 50 pips. That means every order will take 50 pips profit, and every order will take a stop loss of 50 pips as well. Don't want that for this type of EA. Exit by reversal. That means that once we receive a reversal signal, that the EA will close out the trade that it's currently in. Also, don't want that set as false. ECN broker, you can set this as true if you're using an ECN broker. My broker at Oanda is not ECN, and so I keep that as false. You can keep that as true if you'd like, and it may take advantage of some of the spread costs and fees. Okay, leave that as false. Okay, and next we go to these settings on. We keep all these slippage as one spread filter. Now, the spread filter means that the EA will not take a trade if the spread is too high, so over 10 pips. Um, and magic number, keep it as is. Number of open orders as 100. I don't think we'll need to change that at any point since we'll never exceed 100 orders in at one time. And 1 second, since I'm live right now, uh, there's somebody asking me some questions in regards to the eBay, my EA. Okay. And next, we keep trailing stop as false. Trailing stop, as you probably may know, is where if the market moves 10 pips and you can set your trailing stop to 10 and it will break even if it does reverse on you. That's an option to have, but it doesn't really work very well with this EA. You can experiment with it in the back test to see if you can find some settings that work with the trailing stop. But for the most part, I don't find it very valuable. Um, True. You set this as 50 pips for the EA. You can set this for whatever you want. You can mess with it in the backtest as well. 50 is what I like to be placed at. It's a good amount of pips. It works really well with these settings that I'm giving you here. And then we go down to close that dollar profit. Now, dollar profit amount is uh, basically it will close at a dollar profit amount. So if it reaches $10, then all your trades will close out at a profit of $10. It's pretty helpful setting. You can also mess with this yourself, and you can set the dollar profit amount for the basket of trades to close out with. Okay. While we're doing that, I'm actually going to um, I'll finish these first. I'll run a test in the background to show you how these tests these settings work. Close out percent loss. I already talked about that. You said if you set it as true, you can select how much of the percent that you want all the trades to close out at. And this is a good way to protect your account just in case some trades go pretty south. You're getting a little worried, and you want them to cut off if this happens, especially if you're in the middle of the night sleeping. So we want to change the lot size since we're using this with a smaller account to the minimum, 0.01. And we're going to set the martingales as false. And now the martingale 1 means that it's pretty simple, not hard to explain. It basically means that the EA will take trades. I'm not sure why I can't mark this. Hold on. Hmm. Will allow me to draw on the chart right now, but it basically means uh, 0.01 and then 0.02, 0.03, and that's how the progression will work. Let me see if I can get a WordPad up so I can at least type this out so you can see it on paper. So semi-martingale or martingale 1 option means 0.01, then the next trade will take a 0.02, and then the next trade 0.03, 0.04, and I think you get the point. So what happens is if the first order does not take 50 pips profit, then the second order will enter, trying to find a place where the market will reverse and will get that 50 pips. And if it doesn't, then it will enter at 0.02, and it will continue until it finds a place to grab 50 pips from the market. Now that's why it's semi-martingale is because it's not quite increasing in double. So now martingale 2 option in the EA, that's when it goes mart 2 or mat mart 2 means it goes 0.01, next is 0.02, and then 0.04, and then 0.08. At that point, that you can see that the risk will jumps up pretty fast, and you can get into trouble pretty quickly with martingale 2 option. It's one reason why I don't use both these options in these settings. I have flat risk, and so standard risk is 0.01, 0.01, 0.01, and it just keeps going on from there. And eventually, the EA will still find its way at 50 pips. It may take a little bit longer, yes, but the thing is that it's a lot less risky, and that's so I wanted you to kind of see that on paper or at least visually, so it makes a little bit more sense. So I keep those as false. You can also mess with those settings too. You'll see what happens when you place this as true, and how fast the EA will increase the risk, but you also will see how fast it can also crash as well. So we need to change the increase to 0.01 for every 1,000. That's the standard max risks for my settings. Um, and in what will give you 30 to 50% profit per year. You can also have the EA trade at certain times of the day, which is pretty nice. If you set this as true, you can set the GMT time for your broker for the EA to trade it, and we'll make sure and trade during that bracket. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of settings that you can mess with. A lot of them are not necessary. You can also mess with the use grid, and I have it placed at 20. I feel like the reason why I set that, maybe I should tell you why I set these settings. Um, I set these settings because uh, this is the euro pound. The euro pound is one of the pairs that is heavily manipulated by the euro and the pound. Now, it's one of those cross pairs that is moves a lot in range. And the reason why it moves a lot in range is because, uh, as you know, the euro and the pound are a lot of times, and have been in previous years, um, have been correlated. And what correlated means is they will a lot of times move in the same direction. So, for example, uh, if the euro is moving down, then the pound, in a lot of cases, is also moving down. But since the markets have been changing quite a bit, that's not always the case. Sometimes the euro moves down, and sometimes the pound will be flat or will move up. But in a lot of times they will move together, causing the euro pound to be somewhat flat, or to have this kind uh, of movement up and down. But not a lot of straight movement up or trends. Trends are not very strong on the euro pound most of the time. Trends can still happen, especially if big news comes out on one of the two pairs, one of the two currencies. So if big news comes out on the euro, that means it's going to push down in a big way. Um, and if the pound, nothing came out on the pound, then the euro is what's pushing that pair. If something comes out news-wise on the pound, it's going to push up on this on this pair as well, because the pound is what's getting all the pressure from the news at that point. So that's how we see uh, this pair, and that's why I like trading this pair with a pseudo range trading EA, is to capture those kinds of movements on a ranging pair, on a more predictable pair. At least for me, that's why I like this pair so much. So that's why I have grid pips. That means that once a trade is entered, and we'll actually run a back test right now, so you can see this in action. I know this video is a little bit long, guys, so sorry. Um, but it does show you how to set up. I may do a shorter one in the near future. Okay, so you have order one right here. I have no idea why my marker's not working. I'm gonna try to reload it and see if that works. Okay, now it's working. So order one right here, you can see the little arrow. Order two, okay, and then you can see the risk amount. Order three has entered. So these are all 20 pips from each other. Let me take off the. So they're 20 pips away from each other. So first one, second one is 20 pips. Third one is 20 pips from the second one, and that's how the grid works. Now you can see. Now let's pause this. You can see that uh, the trade closed out in profit all at the same time. So orders 3 and 2 were in profit. As you can see, they're slanted up, and then order 1 was slanted slightly down, so causing a smaller loss. But the profit from orders 2 and 3 was a lot more than loss of the first order. Now you may be thinking, oh, this is great. I can use this type of uh, methodology or risk management on any system. That's not the case. You'll find that the actual methodology behind the system, so what causes, when is the first trade entered? What kind of conditions are met in order for the first trade to be entered? You'll see that this methodology or this money management is positive. It's good, but it doesn't work with every system, and it's hard to find something, even a profitable methodology to work uh, this risk management with. All right, so going back to the settings, I think we have them all worked out. Keep these, especially the 30 and 70, 14, 5, and 1 as is, because that is a lot of the methodology behind um, the EA. Now, there's something that I'm not telling you here about the EA when it actually enters its trades, and this reason why I'm not telling you is because I'm live right now on YouTube, and there are people watching. Um, at the moment, and so I just wanted to make sure um, that you know what I'm doing and how to set this up. Um, so I'm temporarily selling my EA for those of you that are watching, uh, and I'm doing it to increase my profits in trading. Now I'm actually using this EA live. I'm using on a balance of $523, so not huge, but I'm using it exclusively on this account to show people how it works. So if you have any more questions regarding the EA and the settings, please message me. I'm sure we can talk through email. Uh, and I'll send a link in the on the YouTube page as well. So for those of you that are watching, I'm going to be going live again on next week. I don't have uh, for some reason my video camera is not working, but I will be going live, and we'll talk more about the markets again. All right. I've been a little bit on a break, but I'm glad to see that some of you are still here watching my stream. All right. So look for me at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, or I think that, yeah, 9 or 9:30. I'll probably go on live again here on Monday for 30 minutes, talk about the markets a little bit, talk about the EA, and how things are going, where my approach is, what's next, all that kind of stuff. All right. And that's it for now. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. And for those of you wondering where my EA is, I'll post it in the chat here. All right. And I'll see you later. Bye.